This is RiverTalks with Jonathan Brush, President and CEO of Unbound.
Chris Voss, in his book, Never Split the Difference, says that in every conversation and every negotiation, there are black swans. There are unknown factors, unknown events that are having a significant impact on the negotiation. But the reality is you don't know anything about them. So in any negotiation, you need to keep talking until the black swans become apparent, that you understand what is going on underneath the surface that has a major impact on the conversation, but that is surprising or unexpected or at least unknown in the conversation to that point. Rory Miller, in his book Conflict Communication, talks about people almost always being in their monkey brain, that the natural state of a human is to actually use their monkey brain. And the monkey is concerned primarily with status, with preserving status, with maintaining status, and that your brain will run subconscious scripts that are designed primarily to satisfy and feed the monkey, to keep the status quo the way it is, to preserve status at all costs, even if it means sabotaging certain things. That your human brain is about problem solving, but your brain is most often in monkey mode, which is a maintenance of status. So if you can combine those two things, I would suggest to you that in my experience, you will be a lot farther ahead in understanding negotiations and conversations and just dealing with fellow humans if you understand the reality that in every human interaction, you should be thinking about monkeys flying around riding black swans. Because if you're dealing with humans, you're going to be dealing with this reality that there are always things that you don't know and don't understand that are under the surface that are driven primarily by emotion and by a human need for status and predictability. So if you're talking to somebody and you're having a disagreement, or you're having a fight, or you're having a difficulty, or you're having a problem, I would suggest to you that generally that problem is rooted at some level in one of these two things, that there is something going on underneath the surface, almost always emotional, that has a bigger impact on the conversation than you understand. And that thing, that black swan, is probably being ridden by a monkey, meaning that it is there because of the other person's desire to maintain status, to keep from losing status, because of their perception of themselves and the way they want others to perceive them. Now, I would suggest to you that based on experience and lots of things that I've read and lots of research, that these are realities, that this is kind of in every conversation, in every situation. And I find this in my own life. When you're talking to your child and you want them to do something, or you're trying to explain something and it's not going well, if you press, you will often find there's something unexpected. And it's normally something that doesn't relate immediately to the situation at hand. You're telling the child, why don't you clean your room? And the child's not cleaning the room, and it doesn't seem to make any sense. And then you press, and all of a sudden they explode, and they're not cleaning the room because they're mad that their sister didn't do so-and-so 2 days ago. Okay, well, is that logical? Perhaps not. But it's a black swan. It's the resentment over the sister getting away with something 2 days ago that is driving the action of not wanting to clean the room right now. Well, why did that swan come about? Because at some level, there's a perception of status there. That if so-and-so can get away with not doing her chores, then why can't I get away with not doing my chores? If I'm forced to do my chores and so-and-so's not forced to do her chores, then there is some indicator of who has the most influence in this family, or who has the most influence with the parents, or perhaps even who is liked or loved better by the parents. And if you would press a child on this, if you would say, no, wait, does that make sense? They would probably stop and say, no, it doesn't make sense. They may not even fully understand the reason that they think that. But regardless of whether they understand it or not, they'll act upon that reality or that assumption, that emotional reality that's going on. So when you're dealing with people and you're trying to make sense of why they're not being reasonable, or why they're not acting the way you expect them to act, or why you seem to be running into unaccountable resistance, think about monkeys riding swans. There's probably something going on that is more important than you think, that you don't fully understand yet, and that is often going to be surprising in terms of its source. And that thing that's not going on is probably motivated by a monkey, a need for status, to preserve it, to keep it, or to increase it. And if you stop and think about that and try to look for those things, something else magical happens. When you do that, you tend to get out of your monkey brain and into your human brain where you're looking for problems and you're trying to solve them and you're looking for perspective and you're trying to seek to understand. And when you do that, you usually get results.